Mariko Tamaki and Joshua Williamson continue their explosive mystery stories as Batman is put on the trail of a new threat that hits close to home, and Robin learns the shocking truth behind the League of Lazarus from his mother. Mariko Tamaki seamlessly transitions from Future State to Detective Comics here with a great new mystery for Batman to solve, while also aiding James Tynion in setting up what Chris Nakano is up to with the birth of the Magistrate. I really do love how in sync Mariko seems to be with James on writing. The characterization of Bruce and all of the surrounding characters isn't all over the place and 100% consistent with each other, but I also do like the added caveat that Tamaki is putting Bruce in situations we don't really see and kind of taking him out of his comfort zone, like him having to attend a neighborhood barbecue to try and fit in properly with his new friends and neighbors. That stuff's really interesting, and I like that we have a book that can explore that. Joshua Williamson meanwhile delivers the ending to the prelude to his upcoming Robin solo series, and boy, what a surprise ending it was. I like that this prelude basically set up the premise for what that solo book will be, which looks to be a tournament, or be based around a tournament that Damien will have to fight in, either for his mother or for himself, which was something I'm glad the story didn't seal in stone here. Damien is still very much on the fence about what he wants to be, so I'm looking forward to him getting to explore that in his solo series. There is also quite the big reveal in the final page of the book, which I won't spoil here, but boy, some fans are going to be happy that character is back. Dan Mora again returns to Batman post-Future State and delivers some wonderful looking artwork that I love feels tonally different from what he did in his Future State work, whereas that was all cloaked in darkness and neon lights and the buildings were sort of consuming the characters. Here it feels a little bit more warmer and lighter, thanks to Jordi Belair's lovely colouring. Gleb Melnikoff finishes up the Robin prelude again with some cool looking pages that help showcase Damien's problems and how he's being pulled in two different directions. I enjoyed how most of the book had this kind of cool blue midnight colour to it, with Damien not really showing any sort of colour in his costuming, and his skin colour really kind of sort of blended in with the background a little bit. But once he donned his Robin costume or his new Robin outfit, colour seeped back into the pages and even the character, kind of signifying what he's meant to be, which was a little wonderful touch that I really liked. Detective Comics issue 1034 was a great continuation of Batman's investigation into what the mayor has planned for the city in the future, as well as an awesome cliffhanger lead-in to the upcoming Robin solo series. Both Tamaki and Williamson have great voices for these characters, and I look forward to seeing more of them in the future. I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10. Detective Comics issue 1034 finds Huntress watching over a dinner taking place at City Hall, where Chris Nakano thanks people for their investments, saying his role as mayor isn't just to keep the city's streets clean and the trains running on time, but to have a vision for Gotham City's future, and that's why they are all there. Bruce, who is in the crowd, knows that this is a chance for Nakano to work on his status as an inspirational leader. His presentation, however, suffers some snags as the right slides won't come up through the projector, and a drunken man calls for the dancing girls to be brought out. One of the socialites tells Bruce that Nakano won't last another term, but Bruce isn't so sure about that. Bruce, while claiming to be just a seat filler, is curious to see the man at the head of Gotham's anti-vigilante movement in action. As Chris gets his speech back underway, the lights go out as the party crashers descend from the roof. The gang open fire as Nakano security rushes the room to try and stop them, as they begin to take the phones of all of the socialites. Bruce takes off, knowing the mayor's biggest donors under attack isn't the inspiration Nakano was looking for. Chris is led away, wanting to know where Hugh Ville, one of his assistants, is, but the team says they are getting everyone out to secure location as SWAT is 2 minutes out. Neil isn't too happy about that, as Bruce rushes down one of the hallways, diving out a window as back in the ballroom, people hide under the table from the killers as the party crashes are set upon by Batman. As Batman fights the villains, he knows that they got their tech from Joker, who got it from Wayne Enterprises when he owned the company, but fundraisers aren't their standard affair, meaning something is up and this is someone else's heist. The mayor is told that SWAT has arrived by Neil, but it was Batman who secured the room for them. Later on, Bruce gets to work on his access points, a series of mini bat caves placed all around the city underground. Since funds are limited, he's spent the last 3 days digging out part of a tunnel, which he knows thanks to little to no maintenance and upkeep, he has all to himself, but still, the cave is 6 blocks away from his home, meaning it's got some pros and and cons to living in the city. As he heads home, he knows the coffee is good in the city, but privacy is almost non-existent as his neighbor Lydia comes by, hugging him and telling him her father saw Bruce at the Nakano Gala. Bruce says that he stepped out for a phone call and missed all of the action, as Lydia says the police were a mess as well. She mentions that many of the people's phones were taken, but she's not there to talk about that though, since she wants to invite Bruce to a neighborhood party. Bruce tries to get out of it, but the woman convinces him to come by since everyone else feels safer knowing who their neighbors are. Later that night, Bruce arrives at the party with a bottle of expensive whiskey, knowing everything there is to know about his affluent neighbors already. Lydia says that her husband Neil unfortunately couldn't get out of work, but wants to get to drinking. As the party goes on, Bruce knows all these highly educated and wealthy people never know how to deal with the violence in the city and never have to, only hearing stories about it. Talk turns to what is happening in the city and what Nakano is doing, with some thinking he's not really doing anything, while others say they voted for him and his actions. Bruce decides to leave them and their arguments, as at City Hall, Chris already knows it was the party crashers who raided the gala and wants to know what's next. Neil demands that whomever is in charge of security on the gala was fired, but talk turns to Nakano's vision of the vigilante threat, as Neil again angrily says that everyone is mocking them and their months of hard work, as Chris asks if Hugh has anything to add. The quiet man says he doesn't, and he's just been taking notes, soon leaving with the rest of the aides. Elsewhere, the party crashers pick over the phones they stole from the gala, looking to hack into them. Batman knows that there was a chance the villains were putting on a show for their new boss, and soon one of the phones rings with a message, which merely reads knock knock. Batman appears in the darkness, taking one of the men into the shadows before coming for the rest, knowing it's time to end the violence of the party crashers once and for all. Elsewhere, one of Bruce's neighbors, Sarah Worth, answers the door, wondering who could be knocking at it at 1 o'clock in the morning. Someone takes Sarah, as Batman knows this isn't adding up and there is something he's not seeing in all of this. That morning, Bruce heads home, knowing there is something bigger than Joker here waiting. Soon he hears someone screaming, racing next door to see Sam Worth in a panic. Sam screams at the cops that his wife wouldn't leave broken glass everywhere, and he demands to know why the cops aren't moving, as Bruce tells the arriving Deb that Sarah is gone, and below the city, a bloodied Neil walks through the sewers. Elsewhere, Talia kills the man that held her captive, telling her son that he hesitated thanks to his father's influence still poisoning him. Damien says that he knew she could take care of herself, and he was distracted by the tattoos since it's no language he's ever seen, but the fighting style of the men reminded him of the League of Shadows and the League of Assassins, yet different somehow. Talia tells her son about the League of Lazarus and how it was one of the 3 classes the Demon's Head Empire had, the other 2 being the League of Shadows and the League of Assassins. But early on in Ra's al Ghul's rule, the League of Lazarus rebelled within her family's reign. She knows this visit was a message, but she has no interest in entering the Lazarus' tournament. Damien demands to know why this was kept from him, since when he learned everything he could about his family, he never discovered or learned anything about this, but Talia knows it doesn't matter, wanting her son to follow her, as Damien realizes she mentioned a tournament, wanting to know what that is as well. Boarding a chopper on the rooftop, Talia says that Leviathan was stolen from her and the family has lost control of the League of Shadows and the League of Assassins, and there are much more larger things now that demand her attention, since she must rebuild her empire and Damien will assist her. She says that she won't treat Damien like her son, but an assassin in her employ and a tool to be used. She wants her son to choose to be the demon or the detective, knowing the boy says he left Batman's ways behind and he will need to prove it. Damien, however, jumps from the chopper, removing his assassin's garb and revealing his new Robin outfit, as his mother knows she should not have tried to cage him. Elsewhere, word spreads of the League of Lazarus returning and the tournament soon beginning. A man says that the greatest fighters around the world will be getting their invitation markers to Lazarus Island very soon. The man says that if the League of Lazarus won't rejoin their ranks willingly, they will force them by winning the tournament. The men oversee their fighter, who battles a group of men, easily besting them all, as they wonder what if Damian Wayne joins the fight. But the man says if he does, he will face their fighter, who will not hesitate to kill, and what better way to kill a Robin than with a hawk.